Welcome back to the channel, Just Zay here, and today we're going to be talking about the weekly One Piece TCG releases. This is going to be the first of many videos, and we're going to essentially be going over the pros and cons of each card, what decks I think these cards should run in, and some of my predictions as far as future cards to be released. Also stay tuned at the end for exciting news on future events. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and start off with Magellan. He was introduced, I want to say, about 2 weeks ago, and he's just a really good purple starter. I think he's a really good captain. His ability is going to be on your turn, and once per turn, when a Don from the field is returned to the Don deck, gives it 1,000. So obviously that basically just makes him a 6k leader, because if you run any purple deck ever, you know that any move you do has some drawback of returning one of your Don. So it's really good, and it's also really good against mirror matches because it gains him strength. And I mean that in the sense of, let's say you attack with one of your other characters and you have an opponent that counters with one of their purple cards, and like I said, all purple has a drawback of returning. Because a Don was returned during your turn, it's going to boost him up by 1k. Now the drawback to him is that right now doesn't really have any support. So he's good, but at the same time, not as much for the moment. Moving on to the next one. Yes, they finally brought a smoker card. I think he's a very okay leader as far as black support goes in the moment. He has the ability that giving a Don and you activate during your main phase. Once per turn, give one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for this turn. Then if there is a character that costs 0, gives him 1k for the turn. So he's great against low blockers, a lot of laws, chompers, stuff like that where it's 1 cost to put out. I think it's very okay, but as far as like really early game, it's kind of useless. Personally, just my opinion, and I think what a lot of people's opinions at the moment, is that he's just not really a good leader in comparison to Sakazuki. So moving on to the next leader, we have Kinemon. I think he's going to be a super good Wano leader, specifically because during your main phase, once per turn, when you have 1 or less characters in play, you reduce the cost of your next character that you can play, if it's 3 or higher, by 1, and you get to play it from your hand. So I think he's a very great combo leader. I think one big thing that Wano was missing was a lot of swarming the field. It was a really mid to slow build up, and it was really easy to disrupt. But I think with this leader, and I've seen it officially myself, that a lot of people are loving this leader because it helps swarm a lot better to the field. The thing is that yes, it is a Wano country specific card, so you're not going to throw Bonnies in there or anything else of the sort. It's really good by itself. Moving on, we were very blessed with this beautiful screenshot or picture taken of a cards to come out within the next coming weeks. A lot of people were kind of trying to speculate what some of the words say because the screenshot wasn't that great. But as you can see, these are all leaders. You see a Sanji, you see Garp, you see Z, and in the very top, what shocked a lot of people is that you saw a Whitebeard leader with 6 life at that. So definitely a lot of people were waiting for the translation of this card. And when it finally came out, it shocked a lot of people more for sure. Now moving on to a great leader I wanted to talk about, Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard. Definitely a surprise to everybody when he came out as a red leader. A lot of people were speculating that he was going to be the new color or the final color for the One Piece TCG game overall. And a lot of people speculated he was going to be a yellow leader. But he came out as a red leader, and a 6 life, 6,000k really shocked a lot of people. Now he does have the drawback, however, where at the end of your turn, you add 1 card from the top of your life area to your hand. And it's not optional, so it's really rough to want to play him. However, we all know that red is a very rush heavy deck. So it's kind of like a dual-edged sword, and I think that's my personal view on the negative aspect of it, is that it's very high attack. And the only card that would really help Whitebeard is his character card, which states that on play, you don't have to add any of your life area to your hand by effect. so that saves you a turn. However, with there not being any red cards that currently help bring Dawn out like a Onigashima for purple, it's not really a good deck to run at the very moment. And there's not really any Whitebeard support cards, but because of this leader coming out, it definitely gave a lot of speculation to a lot more red Whitebeard support pirates coming out. And moving on with that, we were also presented the Z translation. Now Z is a purple and black leader, which a lot of people found to be really interesting. Now, when attacking, return 4 Dawn back and KO one of your opponent's characters that cost 3 or less, and then give Z 1,000. Now, everybody knowing how purple runs in returning deck is going to be very situational, and when you want to use that effect, yes, it rids blockers, and yes, it becomes 6k, but however, because it's purple and black, and because Z is a film and a Neo, not a Animal Kingdom, you can't even run Onigashima in this deck. You can only run the Marine stage, which would be very, very, very much a must using Z as a strategy right now. Now moving on, we have Mr. 3. Mr. 3 is a blocker, and at the end of your turn, you may trash 1 card from your hand to put this character to active. So he's basically 7 cost Kid Jr. He's really good as far as being able to be aggressive and a blocker. The drawback is, however, though, is that you must trash a card from your hand to put him back to active, in comparison to the 7 cost Kid, where you just attach a Dawn and it restands itself. You don't have to discard. So yes, it is a very helpful card because it can be aggro and a blocker, which is a very heavy thing in blue decks itself. No, you're very situational as how you want to play moving forward once you do attack and you wish to activate his ability, because you're going to have to discard something that you may need to follow up to your opponent's response. And going with that, Mr. 3 followed up with Mr. 2. Now Mr. 2's ability is that attach a Dawn to him, and when he attacks, you may trash a card from your hand to return 1 cost 2 or lower character to the bottom of its owner's deck. So basically, it's like a Mihawk, but with a drawback. So it returns small blockers, yes, and it is a very good 2k counter card, so I think a lot of blue will run it just because of the 2k, kind of like with Uda in purple right now. I think it is very good to use, but for right now, it's probably just going to be used as a 2k counter for sure. Moving on, we also have Buggy. Buggy on play looks at the top 5 of your deck to reveal up to 1 Impel down card, but it cannot be Buggy, so it's basically like Nami, and add it to your hand and place the remaining at the bottom of your deck. So it is going to be a great searcher. I think that with Persona, it has a good combo because you can use Persona, but like I said, you can use the Persona combo to put him on the top of your deck, and if you happen to see any more of your Impel down cards, you could draw those as well, as you know you're stacking the deck. Now going into a personal favorite right now, we have Carrot. Carrot is going to be a must play, I think personally, in green decks, because not only does it have a 2k counter, but at the end of your turn you set one of your Dawn as active. So it is a Dawn refresher. Now what I really like about Carrot is not essentially that she's a 2k counter, but it gets me excited for the Mink leaders that are probably to come in the OPO2 sets. I'm definitely speculating off the back Nico Mamushi. I think he's going to be a leader for sure, and if he is in green at that, I'm going to be so excited to play it, because we all know that Mink tribe characters are strong in the anime, so to have them as green with so much support and searchers, I just cannot wait for them to come out. Now with that, someone was great to translate the Garp for us as well, as you remember in the magazine screenshot. And he has the ability that when you attach a Dawn to this leader or any of your characters, you -1 one of your opponent's characters with 7 or lower during the turn. So I think it is a really good card, and it was really shocking, but at the same time not so shocking, to see Garp having the black and the red. We all know that with him being the grandfather of Luffy, we knew he was going to be a red and black. Now I think he pairs really good with Nami, Brook, and Jinbei, because all those characters give Dawn to your leader or characters. I think he pairs really well with the 5 cost Garp in the Marine structure deck. If you don't know his ability, you trash a card from your hand and rest Garp, and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 4 or less. And with that, we also have the Sanji leader that was in that magazine screenshot as the final character to be revealed within that and have a translation. So Sanji is going to be really interesting and be a green and a blue leader. Now, I think that's a very interesting strategy considering that green and blue counter each other, and I think with that, they might work really well hand in hand. However, his ability is that once per turn, when you play a character without an effect from your hand, if you have 3 or less characters, you just restand 2 Dawn. Now, it's good because you have Dawn reuse once per turn. That's really nice, and I think it mixes returns and restands really, really well, especially with green being a very restand heavy deck and blue being a very return back to the deck kind of thing. So I think it's really interesting on who runs this and how well they put it together. Now, the drawback is that you got to play vanillas, and no one really likes playing them as well unless you're running like a Uda deck, for example. Now, one of my favorites that I'm so excited to talk about is the Nico Robin. And why I'm so excited about that, if you obviously don't tell, is that it has the film in the background of her image, which will go ahead and make me speculate that the rest of the film characters will come out. Now, the question is on whether or not they're going to be all green, or if they're going to be red, or if they're just going to be a random off color that we just wouldn't have thought of. Now, her ability is that on play, you play up to 1 or 2 lower film or straw hat type characters from your hand. So off the bat, I think she would be really, really good to run in your law decks, because with that, you can play a free Nami or a Tony. Now, one even more exciting than that is Marco. God, it was so crazy to see Marco come out as a character randomly this week. I think it was really, really exciting because that proved my speculation that there's going to be more red Whitebeard pirate support. Now, with Marco and his Devil Fruit abilities, everybody was speculating on if he is going to have a return effect or if he's going to have some type of rejuvenation, and he certainly does. So Marco is a blocker, and on KO, you trash a card from your hand, but it has to be Whitebeard Pirates, which is like, eh. And if you have 2 or less life, you play this character from your trash as rested. So he's a reusable blocker, and I think he has a very good power to Dawn play ratio, and he's really great for aggro because you can attack with him, and if you KO him, then that's cool. He's just going to come back as a blocker. Now, the drawback is that obviously there's no Whitebeard Pirates out now as far as characters except for the 9-cost Whitebeard. So use it, really. I think it's very situational right now, and it's very early on to want to play him. Overall, it's still exciting because now we know for sure that there's going to be more red Whitebeard support characters coming out now. Now, coming up next, we have Tashigi. Tashigi is basically a cheaper Shingoku, but the thing is that when attacking, she doesn't just reduce by 1, she reduces by 3. So I think she might be very heavily played in a lot of black structured marine decks coming up forward. Curly Dandan. Curly Dandan has a phenomenal search ability to reveal 1 red character that costs 1 or less and add it to your hand. So she's going to search Nami, Chopper, Otama, and she is going to be phenomenally a must in any red deck moving forward because she can search all of those really cheap cards and adds it to your hand. And with it only being a cost of 2, I think it's going to be a lot better because with that, you can throw her in the Law build, you can throw her in Zoro builds to either switch out with Shambles or to overall get a lot of your blocks up to use to your advantage and protect yourself when you're going full aggro. Now, the thing is that you can't search her with any cards right now, so she's going to have to be a hard draw. Hopefully there's more cards that come out into the future that will be able to search her, but for right now, she is a very, in my opinion, if you are using her, you're running 4 of. If you're not using her, you just gotta wait for the support. Now, moving on to a very interesting character, we have Mino Koala. And he works really well with Magellan, but he's really only usable with Magellan right now. His ability is that he's a blocker, but on KO, if you have a leader that has Impel down as his type, which is only right now Magellan, you add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So he's like a weak Onigashima kind of. He's okay in my opinion, and I think that he just needs a lot more support in order to play him out. But with that in mind, we also got Saudi. Saudi on play plays up to 1 character with the Jailer Beast type from your hand. So for one, with her being a 2-cost card, I think that a lot of people are going to switch out Uda for her in this aspect alone, because she plays Mino Koala for free, and with that she costs less. So in a case where you definitely need an essential blocker on hand, Paige is not a blocker and neither is Ulti, but with Sadi you can play her, and if you have Mino Koala in hand, you're basically paying a free blocker that if he's KO'd, he's going to give you a free Dawn. So he definitely helps for ramping up and getting your Dawn back to where it needs to be in the case of if you're really low. And this is Doberman. I mean, he's Doberman. We don't really like him. So we're just going to move on to something that's more important, and that's definitely going to be Magellan as a character. And actually what makes this better is he has an alt art, and I think it's phenomenally better than his other card. Actually, I think it's better than his leader card. So he has the ability to where on play he returns one of your opponent's Dawn when you return one. I think he supports the Magellan leader very well because he returns Dawn from both your field and your opponent's field, and he KO punishes your opponent by returning 2 more of their Dawn. So I think overall he is a really great purple staple in general because of just Dawn control. I think if certain people use it correctly, he can be ran really well in a black purple deck. As far as controlling with Z, is it going to be good right now at the moment? I don't think so, but I think within due time, as more support comes out, it will be something very, very strong to utilize. Now within support of this card, we were given this beauty, Judgment of Hell, and I think this is going to be a 4 of definitely in all purple decks because it has the counter of returning a Dawn back to deck and up to a leader or a character, 2 of them at that, you minus 3k for the turn, not just for the battle but for the turn. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal card to stop your opponent if you don't have Onigashima or just whatever. This is going to be a really good staple because even its trigger is good, where if your opponent has 6 or more Dawn, your opponent returns one to their deck. So if you combo this with the Magellan, I think this will be a very good 2-card staple control that returns, helps stop your opponent in his tracks as far as combos that he may have had in mind for sure. Coming up near the end of our list, and speculations to be true, we got Vista. Now Vista is a Whitebeard pirate, so he's going to help with the Marco and the Whitebeard strategy, and he also has an ability that he on play KOs a 3 or less power card. Now why is that good? Because it isn't restricted to rested characters, and it works really well if you happen to have, like for example, an Ultima, or if you happen to use them in a Garp deck where you are minusing power from opponents' characters. Now in support of that, we also got Squad on play. If you have Whitebeard as your leader, essentially give one of your opponent's characters -4 for the turn and add the top card from your life area to your hand. Now it is a very good Whitebeard support because it can be used with Marco and Vista, and I think if you use it right with Vista, you can get rid of very big cards that are pesky and really hard to get around. Now, however, it has the drawback of adding the top card from your life area to your hand, so you gotta basically pay a life to do combos such as the Vista and Squad combo. Moving forward, we got a very interesting card. We have Kazuki Toki. Now, if you control a Kazuki Odin character, this character gains the ability to be a blocker. It's cool little quirky ability, but if you didn't realize, it has to have a Kazuki Odin character. Now the only Kazuki Odin character right now is Yamato, because he's considered Kazuki Odin when in play. So it can protect Yamato, but with that, that also gives me the speculation to believe that there's going to be a Kazuki Odin character that comes out very shortly, which is going to be great, and I cannot wait to see his ability. Let me know in the comments what you think his ability might be. I think personally he's going to have either a power boost or something that protects his other characters for sure. Now going into my final favorite, we have Dogstorm. So this definitely proved my Mink Tribe theory that we are getting more Mink Tribe characters. They're going to be green and I cannot wait. So he has an interesting ability. If all your Dawn is rested, this character can't leave the field due to your opponent's effects, whether that be Jet Pistol, whether that be one of the Marine Destruction card effects, any effect that would basically KO something. it's not going to leave the field because of it. So the good thing is that it can really be used in Wano builds. The only drawback right now is that there's no other Mink support aside from Carrot, and Carrot has the ability where at the end of the turn she stands a Dawn, so using Carrot and Dogstorm at the same time would probably not be the best option, and it's very situational. But overall, this definitely gives me more faith that there's going to be more Mink tribe cards coming out, and I just truthfully cannot wait.
2,000 years later.
And that's all we have for this week's One Piece TCG report. I do apologize if it was such a long, tedious task of explaining and everything like that. I was just going over the last few weeks in total. I promise in the future there's going to be a lot shorter videos as far as what I go over. While you're at it, let me know in the comment section if you would like more deck breakdowns as far as counters or how to run certain decks in preparation for the structure event coming out later this month and for the One Piece 01 set coming out later this year. Now, as far as future events goes, someone was blessed enough to go ahead and share what Times Square looked like recently this week as far as the One Piece Red preview going on at the end of the One Piece TCG tour that has been going around throughout the US. I left that down in the description, so go ahead and check that out. Now, speaking on the topic of the One Piece Red film, if you didn't know, the movie tickets are actually currently out right now. I went ahead and caught me and my wife a pair for sure because we're definitely going to go see that movie. Now, as far as, and I know a question came up with a lot of people, is if the film decks are going to be handed out, and currently we don't really know. So by all means, do go ahead and check your local movie theater if you're in the States to go ahead and cop a movie ticket for sure before they sell out. Finally, later this month I have two tournaments that I'm currently hosting. I'm going to be hosting one on the 23rd and the 30th. The one on the 23rd is going to be kind of a pre-practice for the structure tournament coming out later in this month, and the 30th is just going to be overall format of anything goes as far as everything that's currently out worldwide. The second is just for fun. However, within my Discord, I actually have the King of Pirates role and the First Mate role that goes for the top 2 contenders so far within the tournaments that I've held up until this point. So by all means, if you feel as though you can take the spot, I definitely have left that down in my description as well to go ahead and join the Discord and join the other members that are already in it. And to top it all off, I am planning a giveaway when we reach 50 subscribers, because I am a very giving person and I really do love and appreciate all the time and effort that y'all take to go ahead and just watch a measly minute of my videos. I know it may be dry at some points, but I promise it's going to get better as time goes on. I'm growing, and as I'm growing, I would love to share the experience with y'all. So by all means, like, share, and subscribe, and I will see y'all soon.